And welcome back to the show. Now, none of you are going out this weekend with the intent to get into an accident, but unfortunately, they do happen, and it's important that you do know your rights if you are involved in one. And we're happy to have with us this morning from Cellino Law, Stephen Ciocca, who can help us answer some of those questions. Stephen, good to see you again.
Good to see you, too.
Well, a lot of folks think they might know the law when it comes to an accident. They might be surprised when they're not, when operating a vehicle in New York State. Minimum insurance policy. What is the minimum that they have to have?
So in New York State, every driver has to have a minimum insurance policy that covers them for $25,000 over $50,000, which means that if they injure somebody due to their negligence, the person that they injure has access to $25,000.
Okay, now what if, again, if unfortunately in an accident, the injuries are worth more than that policy?
So that happens so frequently, and that's an unfortunate thing because New York State does have comparatively high limits, so at least you know you're covered for $25,000. But what happens in the event that somebody significantly injures you and $25,000 is not remotely enough to compensate you for those injuries? You have access to something called supplemental underinsured motorist coverage, which you can get as part of your policy, and that actually protects you in an amount above $25,000.
All right, so that's something important to note with your own insurance agent when you're buying a policy, renewing a policy, to make sure you have that supplemental underinsured.
Absolutely.
Motorist.
I mean, you have to have $25,000 of that coverage, but what frequently happens is that we get a phone call from somebody and the injuries are terrible, sometimes even catastrophic. The person that hits them is just an average person. They have a very minimum policy. They don't have any assets. So the only thing you are ever going to get from that person is $25,000. Now that's not enough. So what you have to do is when you discuss insurance with your insurance agent is to make sure that you have adequate coverage that's going to protect you and your family in the event that happens. How much should you get? It's really whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you can afford. I recommend to get as much as you can, only because if you are significantly injured and you're limited to that $25,000 from the person that hurt you, you want to be able to get more money to cover things such as your expenses, wages, just your pain and suffering, and anything else which might come up.
Now, someone's probably asking, well, can I go after them personally?
You can, but the problem is that somebody that's driving around on a minimum policy most likely doesn't have any assets that you can ever go after. They're not a professional hockey player, professional football player, somebody that's making a lot of money. If they were, they would have more insurance. Like if you get involved in a crash with a commercial vehicle, they're going to always have a lot of coverage because they have assets to protect and a business to protect. But if it's somebody that doesn't have any assets, that's just looking to maybe save money, I don't blame them for doing that, you're not going to get anything from them personally.
On the other side of that, if it's unfortunate where you're the driver and you injure somebody and it goes above that 25, what insurance can a driver do to protect themselves from the other person coming after them?
So that's a good question. So what you want to do is you want to take a look at whatever your financial situation is. I often look at people's policies that I know, and they always look at and they say, hey, can you check this out and let me know what I need? And there's people driving around that have the same policy that they had when they were in high school or when they were in college. And that's not enough, because if you are a homeowner, if you have assets, let's say you have a boat, let's say that you have other things that you have, a four-wheeler, an ATV, a vacation home or something like that, you really want adequate coverage, because if it's somebody like me, an attorney, and you injure somebody, one of my clients, I'm not going to just be satisfied with that $25,000. I'm going to come after whatever assets I can to adequately protect my client. So you really want to make sure that you're adequately protected.
All right, important information on both sides of what we hope doesn't happen, but we know that's what they're called, accidents. They do happen. Absolutely. They're not planned. The personal injury attorneys at Cellino Law represent injury victims throughout New York State. If you have been involved in any type of personal injury or auto accident, then Cellino Law can help. Their offices are located at 800 Delaware Avenue in Buffalo. For more information, give Cellino Law a call at 888-888-8888. You can also visit their website at cellinolaw.com to learn more about all the different services that Cellino Law provides.